This is going to be a business recap, and it's mid-March, and I have some really big news to share with everyone. And with that, I'm going to be sharing some of my numbers inside Inventory Lab for my Amazon store. But the very first thing that I wanted to talk about is a thing that I've been dealing with, and surprisingly, it's been a hard thing to deal with recently for me. So basically, coming into 2023, I wanted to stick to a schedule of actually paying myself a certain amount every single month. Last year, I was really in a scaling mode, and I would kind of pay myself when I could, and then not pay myself at other times when I had a credit card bill due, etc., etc. Like, I literally wrote down exactly what I was going to pay ourselves at the beginning of the year, and like, we're going to make that happen regardless. So the plan has been, in January, pay ourselves $3,000, February, pay ourselves $4,000 to make sure that we have a certain amount saved. In March, the goal was to pay ourselves $4,000 plus taxes. So we needed to pay taxes, still wanted to pay ourselves $4,000, and so basically that required me not spending on inventory until we had that money to pay ourselves. A lot of last year, and this year included, I've really been like pushing hard towards my profit goals, and kind of like we talked about in the last business update video, I was actually pretty far ahead with my spending. Coming into March, I was expecting to go on a Thailand trip, which ended up getting rescheduled because there were some flight issues. And so I came into that trip extremely far ahead. I basically was through with my profit goal for February 10th through March 10th. I was basically done with that goal. I started March not going into that trip, and I was like, well, I guess I'll start the goal for March 10th through April 10th. So I kind of came into March and like kind of quickly got ahead for my goal for March 10th through April 10th. But with that came the issue of paying ourselves. If I'm ahead on my spending, that also means that I've spent more money, and so therefore there's less to pay myself. So I kind of went from 100 to close to 0 pretty quickly for a couple weeks, basically trying to kill some time so that I could actually not meet my almost addictive habit of trying to spend on inventory, but actually let that money come into my account and let ourselves pay ourselves. So while I was doing that, I decided to take the opportunity to try to train my virtual assistant to be doing most of the buying in my business. She's been working with me for over a year at this point. She's been really solid. She understands what she's doing, and she has made purchases for me, but it hasn't been extremely consistent. Like, most of the time, I've just been purchasing the leads that she finds for me. She's not actually the one purchasing them. So probably the last 2 weeks has involved a lot of me trying to work with her and help give her the confidence to actually pull the trigger on a lot of these leads that she's providing. And it's been like a really good like stretching experience for me, because for me, I'm really confident like purchasing the items myself. And so I definitely have the temptation of like, you know, like I could just be purchasing these items myself. It doesn't even take me that long, blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, if I don't have to do anything and I'm just reviewing purchases, that's going to be a lot better. So at the very beginning of having her purchase for me, even before these last 2 weeks, I would have her give me the list of leads, and I would have her purchase the one that she feels the most confident in. And on top of that, I would have her like write out her reasoning for wanting to purchase each one of these and why it's a good lead. And then I slowly increased it to 2 and then to 3. And then eventually within these 2 weeks, I started to like give her a range in which she should be spending like in spend. So like we started with like $100, like find me leads today, and also like spend $100 on actually purchasing the items. And we've been working that up slowly but surely. And I also went to the Miami 2023 event, and one thing I realized from there is that it's been a huge mistake that I haven't been doing video calls with my virtual assistant. Also, around a week and a half ago, I decided to hop on a call with my virtual assistant, and I've been trying to do that weekly ever since. And it's actually been really, really helpful for her, I think, because I think her confidence in purchasing stuff is starting to increase because she's getting to ask those specific questions that she's having. Because like, obviously, if you're working for someone and you feel like you have a good job, you don't want to make any kind of mistake whatsoever. And it's almost impossible to never make a mistake when purchasing items for Amazon FBA. There's just a lot of things to look at. Classic tenderfoot mistake. I wasn't doing video calls with her, but now I am. Her confidence is increasing. She's able to purchase a decent amount at this point. If I were to just completely hands off, not be purchasing, she would probably be purchasing maybe close to a third of my inventory for the month, which is a really, really good start. But we also have a long way to go because that still leaves me having to do a lot. And then that also doesn't include a lot of the situations where she will find a really good lead, but then purchase way too little of it because she's feeling cautious about not buying too much stock. And I end up going in and just purchasing more, therefore hitting our potential profit sent in goal faster. All in all, I'm really happy with that. We still have a long way to go. She's doing really well and also has a lot to learn as well, but overall super happy with that. And that's been a really good part of me not spending as much on inventory because I'm really trying to grow my delegation muscle to kind of let the responsibility be more and more on my virtual assistant. Because like we talked on a video call and I kind of asked her like what are her goals for like career, and she actually said that she would love to run her own Amazon store at some point in the future. She did assure me that she would always want to work for me if and for however long I need help, but like she really wants to learn how to run everything in the store. And honestly, that's a really good fit because the more that she can do, the more time that I have. And just in general, like if your sourcing virtual assistant like isn't necessarily wanting to help you run your entire store, but just really wants to help you source, for example, having that extra set of eyes and that extra really Amazon attuned mind in your business, trying to find similar items to what you've been looking for is such a big help. Having a sourcing VA working with you and you're definitely selling a lot of items every single month, that's a really, really good investment because it's not just you looking for stuff. There's also another person out there looking for items 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, which is absolutely nuts. And then the second thing that I'm working through right now almost feels like a petty problem. And honestly, it's not that big of a deal, but it's still something that I'm trying to work through. And it's basically like with me not spending as much money because I've been waiting to pay myself, what do I do with the time? Before I was trying to pay myself, I would probably work on Amazon 15 to 30 hours a week and probably more like 25, 30 hours a week. And between that and social media and everything else in life, I was actually pretty busy and didn't have a ton of time. And now with Roseanne doing all the purchasing and me basically just going through her emails and just validating and making sure that she purchased the right thing and everything's getting book kept and put into the prep center sheet and doing some repricing and admin stuff, I'm really not spending much more than 10 to 15 hours a week max on this. And so the question of like, what do I do with the rest of my time is something that I've been kind of working through. A lot of people on social media talk about like starting a business and starting a store and then delegating everything and getting to the point where they're completely hands off. And all the talk is kind of around that, but there's a lot less talk when it comes to actually, what are you gonna do with your time once you've actually achieved that? And I'm definitely not completely there yet. I still have like plenty of responsibilities to do, but it definitely is taking me a lot less time. And the thought of like, if I were to get this down to where it was 5-10 hours a week consistently, like what do I do with the rest of my time? I really enjoy selling on Amazon, and so it's weird to have a ton of things delegated for the things that I actually like to do as well, in some cases. And I think a lot of people on social media would basically say like, well, once you've built up a business to the point where you don't really have to do much with it anymore, you can just go ahead and start another business. And that's definitely something that I can do, but I kind of have no clue what I would do and all that, but I guess that's a good problem to have. And then along with that, it's almost like if Amazon's such a good opportunity, but yet I'm only putting 5 to 10 hours a week into it, I really should be, or at least part of me feels like I should be maximizing it as much as possible. And it's almost like a moral obligation to maximize it as much as possible. Like it almost feels wasteful. Like I could put another 20 hours a week into going to thrift stores and estate sales You the inventory lab breakdown of February 13th through March 13th. So I went ahead and opened my inventory lab, and in reports, you can go to profit loss. And then I set a custom date between the 13th of February and the 13th of March. We're a couple days after the 13th, around the 17th, 16th, 17th. And so basically in that period of time, I did $58,617 in sales. We had around $7,000 of returns. Definitely would like to lower that number, but that's much better than the used item days. The used item days were more like 20-30%. Still very thankful for that. And the total profit here was $14,693. And there's one weird outlier about this, which we'll get into in a second, which is why I'm a little bit confused about whether I actually did hit my goal or not. But $14,693 is the net profit that Inventory Lab is showing. On average, like I said before, my costs per month are anywhere between $2,900 and $4,000 a month. And in February, they were $2,900. If my estimate of $3,500 is correct, that's obviously $10,000 profit, and a bit above that, more like $11,000 profit, which is amazing. Super, super happy about that. So it seems like the amount that I sent in was enough to actually hit me at that profit. But there's one thing that I am thinking about, which is making me think that I might have to either send in more or make sure that the items that I'm sending in are selling faster. If we scroll up to here, we see the reimbursement tab is $4,267.97. And on average, that's more like $1,500 to $2,000. And so because of that, this month I ended up getting a ton more reimbursements than usual because I started using a reimbursement service called Seller Investigators. You can message me for more info if you need help with that. But they ended up recovering a ton of money for me. That is more extra than usual. And so if we were to say that the $4,200 is an outlier, but it's more like $2,000, that would put us at more like $12,400. And so that would put us underneath the profit goal, only off by like $1,000 to $1,500, which I'm still like super excited about. And including cashback and everything else, I think this will end up just barely hitting $10,000 profit. But yeah, the reimbursement was definitely an outlier here. So I can't assume that this is always going to be here. It definitely won't. And so it looks like I'll probably have to send in more profit than the $18,000 potential profit. Maybe I'll try raising it to 19 or 20 and see how that goes. But overall, super excited. I did hit the goal. I'm probably gonna have to change the input. And regardless of whether I hit the goal or not, like $8,000 or $9,000 profit in a single month is absolutely amazing. Super excited for that. So yeah, I just wanted to update you guys on what's been going on in the business. Waiting to pay myself has been a stretch for me because I'm super used to just almost alleviating my stress by purchasing, trying to let that go into my virtual assistant's hands so that they can be more responsible for it and I can have more time. Definitely working out what to do with the time, but that's a huge, huge blessing for me to be able to wrestle with that and kind of figure out what are the next steps. I mean, I did pay myself, so I will have some work to do in order to actually hit these potential profit goals. Thank you guys for watching. If you're still listening, this is probably going to be like a 30-minute video. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day and take care.